If all you see is all you see, then you do not see all there is to be seen. I heard that from Pastor Tony Evans. The devil is real, and so is Christ. And the war out here for our body, minds, and souls is heating up. Everything is evolving all the time, and the world is a very different place than it was just 3 years ago. Back then, you could easily exist in the realms of playing around with belief, wondering what was behind all of this, thinking the Bible was a fairy tale, but also kind of being extra curious about it, while remaining spiritually vague and dancing around all kinds of belief systems, while chiefly living a life of distraction and staying non-committal just about everything, while still believing you were a good person. You remember the good old days. But now the world has evolved, and the spiritual battle, the battle between principalities, has heated up and revealed itself to such a degree that a line in the sand has appeared that's becoming more and more difficult to ignore. There is an overt attack on the minds of our children, which is leveraged against their innocence, and we hear about attacks on them that are far beyond that, which are surgical, both literally and figuratively, making the line in the sand deeper and deeper. And we can't pretend that we aren't born here with the very real power of our voices to protest, to wake up, to express, and to warn. Our voices, which have been shackled by nefarious forces that rule the big players of our media and the mainstream narrative, which has gone so far away from sanity or any consideration of morality that morality itself has become a kind of dirty word, a word you could exchange for intolerance. But where children are involved, there should be intolerance on the attack of their innocence. They should remain very far away from any concerns of adult sexuality before they are adults. That's something we used to just take for granted. That's something that was never an area of debate, and we should be able to take that for granted. But as I said, everything must evolve, including evil. Its dismantling of humanity, of our power, of our sovereignty can't be satiated. It must hobble us evermore. And the root of what humanity is to become is located in our children, obviously. When you view all of this through the lens of spiritual warfare, you can easily grasp the machinery of evil, the way that it is patient, the way it takes its time over generations to evolve its strongholds, to terrorize the will of man, to make us mute, to make us afraid, to guide us away from the power of Christ, which is where all of our power is. At least that's what I think. First there was the Word, and so the attack on our voices is an area of deep consideration for the side of darkness, as it chemically castrates us and psychologically castrates us through media, through toxic food, through porn, through deadly drugs and pharmaceuticals. Endless debates about the meaning of things under the umbrella of relentless propaganda, which isn't about anything other than amping up a level of mass cognitive dissonance so deep that no one knows who or what they even are anymore. And who does this benefit? We can talk about the so-called elite till we're blue in the face. We can question political policies and the cartoon politicians on both sides of the aisle till the illegal cows come home, so to speak. But until we actually address the principal players in this war, we really are just adding to the confusion, because in order to see it clearly, we need to just get comfortable talking about it for what it is, God versus the devil for the will and soul of man. And when we view it through that lens, we see it for what it is. All the cognitive dissonance clears away like sun breaking through ridiculous clouds. And now that the narrative of a few years ago is breaking apart and exploding before our very eyes, two factions are emerging. Many who fell for it and others who didn't. And the ones that fell for it are confused about how the people who didn't fall for it could see through it. And here again, we could get into the weeds of research and who or what media sources one trusted or didn't. But again, to really clarify all of it, the people who didn't fall for it simply could recognize evil in the way evil moves. Evil is ingenious but limited. Evil is powerful but predictable. Evil always uses the same playbook, and those of us that had experienced it in our personal lives via toxic relationships or devastating home lives, and who had overcome those relationships and so therefore studied the way manipulation works, could see it all very clearly. The exact same playbook was being played out across all of society and the world. For those of us that had studied evil and who had direct confrontations with evil in the past could see it so clearly that our only confusion was all about how others, and so many others, could not see it at all. We've come a long way since then, obviously, and as nothing can remain stagnant and as evil needs to evolve, the response to it needs to evolve as well. Most are sitting on the sidelines trying to remain silent observers in a battle they won't be able to remain indifferent to for long. The line in the sand is growing and evolving as well, and now it's touching the feet of all the people on those sidelines. There will come a time, and that time is upon us, where all of humanity will have to step on one side of that line or another. Most will choose the safety of this world even as it descends further into darkness, especially if they have convinced themselves that all there is to see is what they can actually see on the material plane, that is. But either way, there won't be a comfortable choice. The choice we all have revolves around the limited life we have here, or for the life of our soul in eternity. You think that would make that an easy choice, and with clarity it certainly would be, but clarity of vision is in short supply and being attacked relentlessly for this very reason. If you still have doubts about who Christ was, ask yourself, why is he front and center in the war we are currently in? It's hysterical that the people remaining silent on the sidelines are still pretending that everything is casual, man. That life somehow can be normal as the world is arriving at a max level of derangement. Watch evil evolve. It must, so all this will become more and more exaggerated until the line in the sand grows to the point where people on the sidelines are standing right in the center of it, and then the line will evolve and change from sand to hot coals, forcing us all to choose a side. It is written how this plays out, and the game or the war was won on the cross. The soul of man is forever redeemed and protected. But in order to receive that gift must be claimed. It must be chosen. We have free will here. We are honored and respected by God to that degree. He has no interest in legions of puppets, and we are much, much more than that. Just because we've been led away from understanding our power here and blinded about who and what we are doesn't remove the actuality of what we are, which is major players with powerful voices and spiritual power in a battle that actually matters, and where our responsibility within its structure matters as well. We are, after all, made in the image of God and therefore creators in our own right. Just because we don't recognize our power through the tricks of the devil doesn't mean that that power doesn't exist. So with us, God's reach only goes so far, and that is by his design. We always have had to meet him halfway or even all the way. And salvation is there for us to choose or ignore. That choice is ours, which is both amazing and terrifying. We can't skirt this profound responsibility by pretending it doesn't exist and ignoring the actual ramifications of it. Everything happening here amongst the confusion and cognitive dissonance is also serving to make that reality clearer and clearer. We have to recognize the times we are in and the nature of what is actually going on here. Notice how the things that entertained us even a few years ago hardly work as distractions anymore. Reality itself is more dramatic and engaging than any Hollywood blockbuster could ever be. Conversations and podcasts that skirt around on the sideline are having more trouble holding our attention. Like trying to have a conversation about the weather in front of a building that's exploding. It becomes comical. The war is in our living rooms, and beyond that, it's in our minds and souls. The ability to pretend it's not happening is being lost by everybody. Many will just lose their minds, many will wake up, many more will choose the illusion of safety that evil will provide. Very soon indeed, no one will be able to pretend that it isn't happening. And so for us to choose the side opposing the one who rules over this world will mean risking our lives for our soul's salvation, or alternatively, risking our eternal soul for temporary safety of a temporary life. That is the choice we've been born into. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. That's a great Rush lyric, by the way, and one me and my friends used to love quoting, getting stoned in beat-up cars in the high school days of Ohio. When the seriousness of issues like this were very much something we thought only religious lunatics talked about, but here we are. The truth of it all landing in front of us in no uncertain terms. We can never go back to places like that, places where ignorance was bliss. The spiritual plane has decided to crash that party and crash that party hard, and our eyes can no longer be wide and shut. Thanks for watching. I hope it didn't freak you out too much. That's just what I think. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.